Hello everyone, and welcome to 6.5 Boo-Boos You Must Avoid When Making Picture Quotes. This is Caroline Jones speaking from Useful Graphic Design Tutorials, and welcome to our live training. Now, I was going to introduce Davina at this point, however, she's lost her internet connection. Isn't that always the way with live training, anything live? And so I can't bring her in to introduce herself, but hopefully that will have rectified itself a little bit later and we can then get her to come and say hello. Some of you may know Lisa Marie Spires on Facebook, and Lisa Marie has been rather poorly of late, so we'd like to dedicate this training to her speedy recovery. Now, we'd love it if you would share the webinar link with your friends. Here it is. They can log in to the training now, or they can get instant access to the replay, which we will be sending out after the live training. And here is the link: usefulgraphicdesigntutorials.com/offers/web101. We've actually got a mystery prize for the people on the call tonight, and what we're going to do is we're going to select one person, and it's only available, as I say, to folks who are on the call. To be able to have the chance of winning, can we suggest you go over to our Facebook page? And I'm actually putting the link in the chat box now, but it is facebook.com/usefulgraphicdesigntutorials. If you go over there, on the top of the wall, you'll see a pinned image. What we'd like you to do is to share the post and then comment with your fan page or yourself, and at the end of the training we'll pick a number, and that number will be the person who shared at that point. We'll reveal what the prize is later, but you're going to like it and it's going to be of great value to you. So our goal in this particular training is to show you how to stop wasting time creating images that don't really work. Also, to make effective picture quotes that your viewer will want to share. Create a picture quote that prompts people to take action. For example, join our list of subscribers, follow you, start a conversation, whatever your objectives is. And also to show you some before and after examples to illustrate these basic points. We aim to spend just 30 minutes covering this training. We appreciate that you're busy, and so we want the information to be short and to the point. As you'd imagine, we've got lots to say on the subject, but as we've had so many requests about picture quotes, we felt that we really had to cover this first. Also, we want to focus on one topic so that hopefully you'll be able to feel you can go away and use at least one thing we've shown you without getting too bogged down in too much information. We've both been on lots of webinars. There's lots of fantastic, great information, but sometimes there's just too much and there's a sort of paralysis of analysis. And to be honest, we haven't always implemented half of what we've heard. So we decided to make them shorter, focus on one little point, and as I say, we would like for you to be able to take away at least one thing and use it. Now, it is customary on free training videos such as this to be sponsored by a relevant product. And this is the case here, and we plan to spend the last 10 minutes talking about this, and then we'll go into the question and answer session. This is our first training product, and we've got exciting news about it, so you want to stay around for that, and of course to find out who the mystery prize winner is. But why should you even learn about these basic principles? What's in it for you, really? Well, if you want to have more confidence in creating professional looking quotes that people will want to share and interact with, and that means your business will get more exposure on social media, Pinterest, Google+, etc., and ultimately generate more sales or customers to you. Now, if that's what you're looking for, then you're in the right place. And also, in the last couple of weeks, you may have heard that Facebook and Google+ have introduced the embed posts onto your blog. Now that's a fantastic opportunity for us all, particularly if we do create our own original images. If you're on the call here and you don't have a business, rather you're working with non-profits, then this could also generate more interest, which ultimately can generate more donations. And if you're here, or indeed on the replay, and you want to make great looking images for your hobby, then that's good too. So there's a fair few people, I think, on the call here now who do know us, but for the rest of you who have absolutely no idea who we are, I'm Caroline Jones, I'm on the left, and Davina's on the right, and we're sisters, and yes, Davina is the eldest. Davina's a retired social worker, and I'm an ex-hotelier. We've been online since around 2010, 2011, when we decided that we'd like to learn more about this marketing online thing. We're self-taught in graphics, various graphics software programs, and to be honest, pretty much everything else online. So the first thing to say to you is this: you don't necessarily have to be artistic to do this stuff. Look, of course it helps, but if you follow a few basic principles, then you're going to be great. If you'd like to stay in touch with us after the training session, then do come over to our Facebook page and say hello. Or if you've got any follow-up questions from the training, then come and ask us. We personally monitor the page on Facebook and the other social media platforms. So then, if you're on this training and you were on the previous one, you'll understand why I'm going to check very so often to make sure you can still hear me and you can actually still see the slides. So would you mind just popping in the chat box, yes, a thumbs up on the mood board that you can actually still hear and see me. Okay, so that's great. We're getting a lot of yeses. That's fantastic. Good. So let's move on. About a week ago, I read an article written in Forms magazine about the importance of social media and images forecast in 2014. And I've picked out a couple of the relevant quotes. And this one on the right here, investing in social media will become a necessity, not a luxury in 2014, I thought was actually quite interesting, quite telling. But of course, this one here on the left is perhaps more relevant to us and to you. As well, visual content will increasingly become a critical piece of any solid content strategy in 2014. And I think that's quite telling, but perhaps to most of us not surprising. So here we are, time for an afternoon nap or a doze or a cat nap or even a orangutan nap. And it used to be that images like this were created by those arty types, you know, the graphic designers and the like. However, these days, with lots of fabulous free resources, anyone can create images like this for their business, and of course they do. And this is a good thing. However, if someone doesn't know the basic principles of creating an effective picture quote, it's very likely that you'll eventually get to see something like this. Now, don't get me wrong, the background is lovely. It's a veritable collection of dahlias. By the way, any gardeners in the house? I mean, I think they're dahlias. Tell me if I'm wrong. The picture is lovely, and in case you can't read it, it says, "Behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes." It's attributed to Jim Carrey. And it's a shame, really, because the image is a bit of a waste of time because you can't actually read that message. So the number one boo-boo to avoid is avoid placing your text over the busy area of the photo. Let's have another example here. Now, here's some beautiful reads, and again, it's quite a busy photo, and the text in this particular example is also pretty hard to read. It says, "There is nothing permanent except change." And ideally, what you want to find is a photo that looks a little bit like this. Now, this dove has very conveniently sat right bang in the middle of the photo on a perch, and there's a great space here on the right to put text and a great space here on the left. But of course, things don't always quite work out like that. So let's go back to the reads and see what we can do with this image. What I've done is I've taken the darkest area, which is down here bottom right, and I've taken the text and made it lighter, coordinated with the sky there, and I think we've just about got away with it. But actually there are plenty of other ways in which you can do this. You could create a block of colour running along the bottom of the image, or the top, or indeed the side. And in this particular block of colour, I've made it slightly transparent, slightly see-through. In fact, we found that 75% transparency is a good yardstick. Or we could use other shapes. Here's some examples. I've used a circle here, and that's got transparency too, and that looks quite nice, I think. Or you could make a circle which has got a solid colour. In fact, you can use lots of different relevant shapes that complement the image. I'll give you some examples. If you're a holiday or travel company, you could use a sun to put the text on. Or if you're a makeup or beauty and cosmetics business, you could use a pair of lips to put the text on. A dog walking service or dog grooming, a dog's paw, and health business or gardener, an outline of a fruit or vegetable. So as long as you're making the shape relevant to the image and to the message, I think that's quite nice. And all of this, of course, can be done in iPicky or a photo editor of your choice. So that's boo-boo number 1. Boo-boo number 2 is to avoid using too much text on an image or a photo. Let's take a look at this. Far better is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those... I mean, these images, they're not really meant to have paragraphs on them, because it sort of switches people off a little bit. You could use an excerpt from that quote, as long as you keep the essence of the quote. Or you can do what I've done and gone the opposite direction. I've made it really short. Do what you can with what you have where you are. So that's not putting too much text on the image. And boo-boo number 3 is to avoid using text that's too small. In this image, it's a lovely image, isn't it? The text is okay, you can read it. In fact, I've used a font size 24, but just look at how much better it looks when the image is a fair bit larger. We've found that font size 36 is quite a good benchmark for social media images, and if you work with the actual size of the image as you're going along, then it's easier to check what the text is going to look like on the finished article, as it were. Okay, let's have another check. How are we doing? Is this making any sense to you? Is it useful? Okay, if you want to put your comments in the chat box, just to give me a little bit of feedback, because if it's boring you to death, then, we might as well stop now. Okay, interesting comments, right, from Michelle. Yes, okay, good, yes, picking up lots of font information. Okay, that's great, as long as we're giving you something that's useful. So let's move on to boo-boo number 4. And this is to avoid using low contrast text that's difficult to read. And to be honest, I see this quite often. If we look at this beautiful photo, we've got text matching the colour of the poppies. And I think that looks quite nice, but the trouble is, there's not enough contrast really between the text and the background. So this really is about making sure you have a definite contrast. It's a little bit like pregnancy. I mean, stick with me here, I'm going somewhere. You can't be sort of pregnant. You either are or you're not, and contrast is very much like this. As one of our favourite authors says, don't wimp out, make it definitely contrasting. A little bit like this slide here, and all I've done here is taken the sort of deep green from the stalks of the poppies, but doesn't it stand out so much better? Okay, boo-boo number 5 is to avoid using fonts that are tricky to read. I realise and appreciate that it's very tempting to use those scrawly, scripty fonts that are quite fashionable, but you've got to ask yourself the question, or your friend, are they easy to read, and can the person read the message? Some examples of fonts to avoid, now I do realise this is subjective, but they're tricky to read, and that's Scriptina, Panificio, Saginaw, which is actually what's on this image, and Quiggly Wiggly. Now I've added Quiggly Wiggly at the end. It is quite tricky to read, but I also really liked the name of the font. I do like these fonts, but for your images to be effective, they've got to be easy to read. Just imagine. Okay, so here we've got a travel company, and they want to advertise some last minute deals, and this message says, last minute getaway, sneak off to your dream destination with sudden exposure travel. If your readers have actually got to work quite hard to understand or even be able to read what the offer is, then they're going to be off. You're going to have wasted your time in making the image. So look for fonts that are chunky or heavy enough to have an image behind them. Some good examples of this include Chunk 5, Trade Gothic, Cafezatz, which is what this one is on the screen now, Express Heavy, and my favouritely named one, Pleasantly Plump. Okay, so just make sure that you're using fonts that are easy to read. And boo-boo number 6 is that you forget to put a call to action on the picture. It could be any sort of call to action. And here's a fairly traditional barber's setup, really. You can put the call to action in a place pretty much out of the way of the, so you don't, destroy the essence of the image. Bottom right, top right, top left. Wherever's most relevant. And the call to action in this instance is see more at theheadshed.com. And I've used a little shape here, a little different shape, which is relevant to the subject matter, which is what I was referring to earlier. So you could use a shape or just a circle. Okay, and the 6.5, well, in fact, it isn't a boo-boo. It's more of a little bonus. Whenever we see presentation and we like a font, we always like to know what it is that's actually being used, and we couldn't fit these on the slides. So here is the list of fonts that we've used. If there's a particular font that you've liked and you remember the picture, just ask in the chat box, and I'll fill you in there. And in fact, we've talked about using a quote in an image, but it could be any number of things. Let me give you some examples. You could put a juicy tidbit, a statement of fact, a funny comment, a controversial statement, a quote or a lyric of a song, a headline, blog post titles, or a tweet. And to take that a little bit further and give you examples, controversial statement, can we really trust PayPal? Or how to end your fight with the taxman or the IRS. And for a lyric, don't worry, I'm not going to sing this, and it may be a little bit too long, but it could be very relevant to a great photo or subject. If I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. In fact, I suggest that you could keep an inspiring file on your computer or actually on Pinterest, if you do anything with Pinterest. And when you see something that you like and you think you could use, pop it in there so that when you come to need a quote, it's easily found, and that will save you time. That's the theory anyway. Okay, what I'd quite like to do now is just take a moment and ask you really if there's one thing that you've picked up that you didn't know before or you'd forgotten, that you've learnt tonight, that you know that you can take away and use it, in fact, straight away. If you could put that in the chat box, that would be great. Just a little bit of feedback for us. If you could do that now. Okay, so Irene's saying the font size advice. Yes, that's the 36 size that works quite well on social media. Okay, Yanoni Kafizats, yes, Tina's saying that's easy to read and fun for ads. Yes, that's a really good a font. And Heather is talking about contrast. That's a good point. Yep. Not placing text over a busy photo. Yep. And list of fonts at the end, but where do I find them? That's Sandra. Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll put those list of fonts actually with a replay, Sandra, if that's okay, because it doesn't sound as though Davina's coming back just yet, and that's what she was going to do. She's going to put them in the chat box area, so we'll do that if we may. Okay, great, that's excellent, and thanks for letting us know that. So it is an amazing time to get around making your own images. There's no denying that. What do they say? A picture paints 1,000 words. And in fact, a bloke called Frederick Barnard said this in 1921 when he was remarking on the effectiveness of a graphic. And we said at the start that the free training was sponsored by a product. And we'd like to spend the last 10 minutes here telling you about this new training product. And it's called DIY Marketing Graphics and Photos, Fast, Easy Graphics for Websites, Blogs and Social Media. And it's a step-by-step video training, including all the tools and know-how that you, the small business owner, need to make images that you'll be proud to call your own. And yes, I'm sure that you'd be surprised if we didn't share an offer with you tonight. Stay tuned for this, because the offer's only available for a limited time, and of course you'll want to find out who's won our mystery prize. Now, for those of you who know us, we have had a fair bit of feedback over the last few months asking for certain things, and you may actually be one of them. We've been asked for certain things that include how to make images that look professional and generate engagement, software that's easy to use, that doesn't have a steep learning curve, so that if you don't use the software for a while, it's still easy to come back to without having to learn it all over again. Clear instructional videos that can be found all in one place, saving time and trying to find, the right ones on YouTube. And we've all been there. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we started what we're doing, because it was so frustrating to find something consistently. And there's lots of other reasons. So what we did was we put them all into a melting pot, and we've come up with the video training using the free software program iPicky. You don't need to download it, it is actually online. And we've used iPicky to embellish the photos in this presentation. In the training, we show you how to do everything from start to finish, including creating your own images from scratch. And there's no doubt about it that original images get much more engagement. In fact, I was reading the other day that 90% of the images on Pinterest are repins. So that's a great opportunity if you just take that little step and start to create your own. It doesn't have to be like Picasso or Annie Leibovitz or David Bailey, but just doing some simple things to make your own images original. We also show you how to edit and size existing photos, also how to protect your images to avoid them being pinched, and how to optimize images to speed up web page loading and help them to get found in the search engines. Plus, we show you how to upload the images and photos to the various social media sites, plus WordPress blogs. And here's a couple of examples of the images that we've created from scratch, from using iPicky, just to give you a little bit of a flavour. And here we've got 4 images of a dog in various stages of incognito, as it were. And in fact, it says, the last one there says, I don't think you can read it, psst, I've come incognito. I've got nothing whatever to do with that. I must say that right now. So that could be a nice little sort of way to show you or demonstrate your product. This is an image that could be used on, say, Google+, Pinterest, your web header, or indeed Facebook. And that says the Winey Neighbour, Australia's leading wine store. I don't know if there is one, but there we go. So what you're going to have is everything in one place to learn how to create images that turn prospects into customers. So who's the training for? Well, for small business owners who need social media graphics, advertising materials, web headers and so on. Virtual assistants who want to add graphic service to their business offering. Social media managers who need graphics every day for their clients. And hobbyists. So what's included in the training? Well, we take you through 20 easy to follow videos with clear, well-paced instructions on how to make images for Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, blogs, YouTube and Google+. We show you how to upload the images for these main social media platforms, plus uploading app images to the Facebook pages and uploading images to a WordPress blog. We put together a video guide where we pull out the key action points in each video to make it easier and quicker for you to find a crucial learning point. Let me give you an example of that. Let's say you want to know how to tilt text, and you know it's on video 4 because that's about text. We've made a note of the timings of the tilting text, so you'll be able to quickly run down the guide and go immediately to that timing on the video to find out how to do it. All the images that we use in the videos we've included, no strings attached, because of course it is much easier to follow along with an instruction if you're using the same material. We've also included 5 top tips on taking your own photos. Taking your own photos is really a really easy way to get good content, because you don't have to worry about licensing or copyright and all the rest of it. But I know that some people feel a little bit, well, I don't know, shy about using their photos. So we put together some simple tips, a checklist if you like, to help you on your way. We've also included an essential resources report, and here we share with you the free or low-cost tools that are available online and will help you embellish your images. An example of that could be knowing how to put your brand on a coffee cup, or how to put your brand on a gallery picture, in a picture gallery, if that makes any sense. All sorts of interesting fun things like that. We've also put comprehensive details detailing all the current social media sizes, and we've wrapped it all up in a private Facebook group where you can share your masterpieces, ask any questions, get some inspiration and share your results. So you'll have all the training and guidance you need to become an image creation powerhouse. And of course there are bonuses. We've put 4 together: how to take a screenshot and why they're so useful, how to make a 5-minute video for no cost, and again why your customers will love you if you actually do use video to communicate with them, a guide on optimizing your images for search engines such as Google and Bing, plus how to upload your images to WordPress blog and how to position them on the page, and this can sometimes be a tricky little maneuver. So what is the investment for all this training? Well, for a one-off members price for this evening, it's $87, and it will be held for 4 days, expiring on Sunday the 6th of October. All of the information will be available immediately, so you can go at your own pace, and the charge is one-off. There is no ongoing subscription. But let's just take a moment to put that $87 into perspective. $87 compared to what? How many YouTubes would you have to search to find the ones you want to be able to see, hear and understand what's being said? Let alone how to upload your images to the various social media platforms. How long would that take to do? How do you find out about optimizing your images for speed and search? I mean, many experienced marketers don't actually know you have to do this. If your website pages load more quickly as a result of optimizing your images, how many more visitors are you going to get, and what is that going to mean in terms of sales? Let's say you were thinking of outsourcing it, perhaps using Fiverr, which charge $5 for creating, well, you know, it won't be something terribly complicated, but let's say for $87 you get 17 images at $5 each. What then? What happens each time you want to change a Google cover photo, or an image on a sales page, or to tweak a Facebook ad image, or make a registration page for the web? Or look at it another way. You could earn back the cost of the training with just one client who needs a few graphics over the course of the year. Say you charge between, I don't know, $25 to $100 per graphic. You could quickly earn back the cost of the course and make some money at the same time. We've created a number of images for the promotion of this product, of course. Crucial images for sales pages, testimonial images, product images, guarantees, event images, presentation slides, and yes, we are in the business of doing that, so you'd expect us to. But what about the prediction that Forbes is making for 2014? Visual content will increasingly become a critical piece of any solid content strategy in 2014. You've only really got to look at sites like SlideShare, and they haven't really begun to scratch the surface, or Pinterest, Path or Mobily. We're confident that you're going to love the training and to be part of our community, and we're backing the training with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Just buy the one-off membership, try it for 30 days, and if you decide it's not for you, then email us and we'll send you a refund. Okay, I'd like to go into the question and answer session, but before we do that, and before we actually give you the sales page URL, we're going to announce the winner of the mystery prize. Now, I'd asked Davina early on, I was going to ask Davina early on to go and pick the winner, but I'm just going to pop over to Facebook page myself because still Davina, doesn't have any internet connection. And the prize is free membership to the DIY marketing graphics training program, the one we've just been talking about. So that's quite exciting. So if you can bear with me a moment, I'm just going to go to the Facebook page and I'm going to count down the number, which I've just picked out of my head. And the winner is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, apologies if I pronounce it wrong, Dlyn Soma. Is that D-L-Y-N-N? Dlyn. So you are our winner and congratulations for that. And I'm now putting the URL for the sales page actually in the chat box there for you. And I'll just bring it up on the page here as well. It's usefulgraphicdesign-tutorials.com/offers/DIY-marketing-graphics. And that's where you'll be able to get the training product at $87 until midnight on Sunday. Okay, so I'm now ready to just pick up some of the questions, and forgive me, but this was certainly something that Davina was going to be doing. So if I miss one of them, I will get back to you at some point. So let's have a look. Where are the list of fonts at the end? Where do I find them? Okay, I think I mentioned before that I'm actually going to send that out on the replay. Do you typically, okay, David Van Nuys from the United States, do you typically use Photoshop or a different program? Interesting question. We don't use Photoshop for this. We're using iPicky, which is free, and it's online. You don't have to download anything. We do use Photoshop as well ourselves, but not for this particular program. Could we have a list of, Sabine says, from Gabrielle Island, lovely Gabrielle Island, can we have a list of the good fonts? Couldn't quite write them down. Yes, we'll send them out as well, Sabine, with the replay. Will you offer it again? Laurie is saying from Florida. Excuse me a moment. If you mean will we offer this particular training again, that's a very good question. Yes, simply put, we will do. What we're not sure of is how popular it's going to be, obviously. There is this social element, and we do want to give people... Oh, excuse me a moment, I'm just going to take a drink of water before I choke you all out. Yes, there is this social element, which, if there's too many people, then, we're not going to be able to sort of support people as much as we want to. So the truth is we don't really know. However, if we do shut it down, we will be opening it again at various points in the year. So I hope that answers your question, Laurie. Now, Rosalind Tanner, hello Rosalind, from New York, is saying, if we purchase this, will it be a lifetime access? Again, that's a really good question. Yes is the simple answer. Timeline covers, okay. Timeline cover size, that's 851 pixels by 315 pixels. Okay, where do we get the fonts? I think we've covered that. Okay, Laurie is saying, how do you put new fonts into a program like Inkscape? Okay, well Laurie, you don't put fonts into Inkscape. Inkscape pulls the fonts from those you already have on your computer. I hope that answers that question. Okay. Right, I think that's covered most of the questions there. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope that you enjoyed it and you got something out of it. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.